In February of 1955, Superintendent Cliff Hale made one of the most important phone calls in the history of Dalton Public Schools. That phone call was to Perry, Georgia. On the other end of the line was a young football coach by the name of Bill Chappell, 22 years old, engaged to Benita at the time. Mr. Hale trying to lure them to Dalton, Georgia. A couple months later, that phone call paid off. Benita Chappell would end up serving Dalton Public Schools as a teacher for 34 years. Coach Chappell would work under Alf Anderson for 9 years and then be named head coach for the Catamounts at a young age of 31. During his 33-year tenure as head coach, he would win 317 games, almost 10 games a season, numerous region titles, numerous playoff games, 5 state runner-ups, and 1 state championship in 1967. In his 33 years, his teams made the playoffs 27 times. He would later be inducted into the Georgia Athletic Coaches Association Hall of Fame, the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame. But more important than the wins, the championships, and the Hall of Fames, it was the impact that he made on so many young men's lives. There was one common denominator throughout his career, the word team. So how did he do it? What was his approach? He recently sat down with myself and Chuck Harris and gave us a peek behind the curtain. Coach, a lot of great moments out here on this field.
A lot of memories, yeah.
Any of them stand out?
All your victories. Sure. No, it's I remember when I first came here, that was the home side. And they had temporary seats, over here.
Yeah.
And then they changed it and built those and just, but it's been a long time.
What year was that?
Well, I was 1955. It's changed tremendously. It's gotten bigger and better. And
got a new name on it too.
Well, Harmon Field gonna be here forever. Now, Bill Chappell, they might change that tomorrow.
I don't think so. I think Bill Chappell Stadium's going to stick.
But that was a real surprise to me. I had no idea that was going to take place. No.
You guys, so you in the late mid-60s, you actually dressed down at the high school and walked up the hill over here. Is that correct?
Well, from when I came here in '55, we were dressed in the old gym, walk up the hill, come over here and practice on this field. I think it was '67, somewhere in there, that they built the field house for us. And then they built this practice field down here. That used to be just a big field with a big ditch running from right over there to the corner. And they filled all that in and made a practice field for us.
Coach?
Yes, sir.
I know you came here in 1955. Your last season was 1996.
Right.
You spent 9 years as an assistant under Coach Anderson.
Right.
And then 32 years
33
as a head coach. So that puts you 42, I guess, altogether.
42. And then I was 2 years at Perry, Georgia, before I came here.
Before you came there.
So 44 years all total.
All total. And one of the questions I think that I have and others would want to know is, Coach, what was it in your background that would ultimately help determine what kind of coach you became? I've often heard you say this: I never ask you guys to do anything that I had not done myself.
That's true. And I tell the other coaches, if you hadn't done it, don't ask them to do it, because you don't know how to react to it. You don't know, and you can get injured that way too. But no, I started at an very early age in LaGrange, Georgia. I walked over to practice one day and watched little kids practicing. I think I'd have been 6 or 7 years old myself. And I got over there just playing around, snapping a football. And first thing I know, they putting a uniform on me. And I was awful young compared to the rest of them. But I played center in the old single wing days for, I don't know, a year or two. And then we moved to Macon, and things changed. But I went to 11 or 12 elementary or junior high schools and 4 different high schools. So you learn a lot. You learn a lot from all the different coaches that you under. And I was just telling Pete today, you know, you coach the way you were coached. What else do you know? And when I was 12 years old, I made my mind up that I was going to be a football coach. And from that day on, that's what I worked hard to become. I loved playing baseball, and I loved coaching football. Playing football, those 2 sports. I played basketball, but that was something to do between football and baseball. You know, I really didn't love it, but I played it.
I think you told me one time your dad wanted you to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And
he wouldn't speak to me for a long time. No, really, the worst argument I guess we had was when I was getting ready to go to college. He said, well, what are you going to be? What are you going to major in? I said, I'm going to be a football coach. Oh, no, you don't want to do that. You want to be a lawyer. And we argued back and forth, and I finally told him, I said, Daddy, I'm not going to let you relive your life through me, because that's what he had wished he had done. Well, when I became a coach, I had been an assistant coach 11 years before I was a head coach. I'd been a head coach 7 years before he ever accepted it. Every time he'd see me, he'd say, when are you going to get a job and go to work? I said, Daddy, I am working. He said, no, you still playing. But before he died, he accepted it. He was proud of me.
Coach, kind of walk us through the process of how you got from Perry, Georgia, I think that's where you were, to Dalton, Georgia. How in the world did they find you, and how in the world did you know and want to come to Dalton?
Well, Mr. Hale, who was the superintendent here, called me. It was during the summer after my first year at Perry, and he wanted me to come up here and talk with him, and he wanted to interview me. Well, what he had, I wasn't interested in, so I went back, you know, and started my second year at Perry. And then somebody at Georgia had recommended me to him. I have no idea who it was. While I was in my second year at Georgia, February, he called me. He said, Coach, we got what you want now. He said, I want you to come up here and be a varsity assistant. And it took me from, I was perfectly happy where I was. It took me from February to May to give him an answer. And I probably wouldn't have done it then, except Benita and I decided we were going to get married. She was graduating from Auburn, so we were going to get married that summer. And he offered me a better deal than I was getting in Perry. So I met him in Columbus, Georgia, at a hotel over there, and signed a contract with him there. And we came up here. And Benita, she had no intention of ever being a teacher, but he put her to work as a teacher too. And she probably did a heck of a lot better job of teaching than I did.
Ms. Chappell, I know you're from Perry, Georgia, and that's a long way and a lot different than Dalton, Georgia. When Coach got the call and got an offer to come to Dalton, and he hung up, what'd you talk about?
Well, he asked for a $100 raise, so I thought we'd stay right in Perry. But he didn't get it. So we drove up, and we were engaged in June, and we married in August. So we came up and looked around, and Mr. Hale took us all around and asked me if I wanted to teach. And I said no. And he said, oh, so Bill will have all summer off, and you'll have to go to work. And by the time I left, I had a contract, he had a contract, and that was it.
You were a great teacher. So many people had you as a teacher, and they liked you a lot better than they liked, Coach Chappell. So tell us about your teaching career.
I was easy. I really loved those kids, and it was the most rewarding thing I've ever done. I did have to go back and get certified, but they let me use my year of teaching as practice teaching, and I'm so glad I got talked into it. I taught 4 years and then had the children, and then started back when they started at school, and I am grateful to Mr. Hale for talking me into. And I had the real privilege of teaching so many boys and girls. In fact, when I go somewhere, most of the time I've taught some of their children or somebody.
Right.
It's very rewarding.
I know so many people were blessed by your teaching.
Well, teaching was easy then. I couldn't do it now. I think it's become very difficult, and I know the teachers are working hard, and we did too, but it was a little bit more fun then, I do believe.
A little bit different. The question I know that everybody would ask you or wants to know the answer is, what was it like to be a coach's wife? What was it like to be Coach Chappell's wife? What was it like to be the wife of a coach of a very successful program? We saw you in the stands. Everybody knew that you were supportive. But give us a little insight into what it was like.
I knew nothing about football. Perry was a state championship basketball town. And I did go to Auburn, and we never won games much, and I loved going to the games. But I realized right away football was big. And I hate to say I probably made it too big. I told somebody if I get to heaven, I'll have to ask forgiveness for praying too much about the Catamounts, because I was taught well under Emily Anderson, who was a coach's wife and knew the importance of it. And I love football. I think I loved every player, and it was fun. Winning was wonderful, but it wasn't near as good as losing was bad. I mean, we all suffered when we lost. We didn't want to get up on Saturday morning, so we were very fortunate in having great coaches and good players and lots of community support.
I got to ask this: you buy a house a block and a half behind the visitor stands. Was that a strategic move so you could slide down here and watch more film at night?
No, we were living over in Westerly Heights, and Benita saw that house, and it was for sale, and it reminded her so much of the homes in Perry, Georgia and everything, and she really wanted it. So I bought the house for her, and we stayed there. So it was funny. I said, I've been trying to get her to move again, and she wouldn't do it. She said, no, I can walk to church, or I can walk to Westwood, and all of that. But one day she decided. So I said, well, we need one level house, we need less yards, and stuff like that. Well, I'm on my way to Jekyll Island to play in a golf tournament. And I dropped by there, and she and Alice Scalario were looking at the house we're in now. And I thought, well, she going to like this one. I went through it so fast. When I got to Jekyll Island, I called home and just told her where I was and how she could reach me. And I said, well, what did you think of that house? She said, I bought it. And it was everything I didn't want. But what do you say?
Yeah.
Mama's always right.
That's right.
Well, let's take it to the next step. So you have a fine son, Billy. So now you're sitting around the dinner table, and you got Mama, the coach, and the son that's now playing for his dad, who's the coach. What was that like?
I'm really surprised, because I know it wasn't easy probably for either one of them, but it was fun, and I just, everybody said, well, don't you worry about Billy getting hurt? And I said, no, I'm worrying about fumbling. I said, I can't believe anybody doesn't want their child to play football. There's so much to learn. And Billy, I just have to brag, he just was one of these that he let it wash over him, and I guess I didn't even realize the difficulties. My Andrew was the one that lived and died football.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
She sure did. Billy, you and Andrea grew up as the children of Coach Chappell. We all saw you grow up, saw you develop, became a player yourself. The question I'm sure that everybody would want to know is, what was it like? What was your childhood like?
Well, I really enjoyed it. I could walk from school and middle school to the football field and be a manager to players like yourself, and that was a lot of fun. So I knew it was important. I knew the time he put in, so I just enjoyed it. Enjoyed the camaraderie of the town and the players and the school.
What would have been maybe the most difficult thing about being a player? Because we all know the relationship between player and coaches. Coach always said he loved us all, but he wasn't, he wasn't trying to be our friend. And so you were his son, and yet you were a player. How did that go?
It was a lot easier than you might imagine. Growing up and being around the team, I knew the expectations. I knew what they wanted, and I also knew my abilities, and my dad knew my abilities, and he wasn't expecting me to be the superstar, but just to do my job and be the best teammate I could be. And so there was not as much pressure on me as you might have thought. I just really enjoyed being a Catamount and being with my friends.
You may have to be careful about this one, but what's something about your dad, Coach Chappell, that maybe you know that we don't know?
Well, one thing that I thought of, he had to make some really tough decisions. I know a lot of people thought he might have been just really cold-hearted and didn't really care, but usually when he had to let someone go from the team, it was a star, not just a player, and it was tough on him, and he had to make those decisions. And watched him in the living room with parents and kids, I learned a lot from that you have to do the right thing when it's called on.
I know a lot of kids come up and they say, Coach, when I was playing for you, sometimes I didn't like you, but now I love you because I realized what you was doing what was best for me. And that's that to me, that's fine. I wasn't your buddy. I was your friend if you needed a friend, but I'm not your buddy. But I wanted what's inside you to make you the best you could be. And how can you question that?
But then on the lighter side, when I had my first child, Will, I saw a different side of Dad I never thought I'd see. And so walking around, taking him out to eat, and just couldn't get enough of him. In fact, both my kids call him Bill. They don't call him Granddad or Dad, or they call him Bill. And because they were around his friends calling him that as they were growing up, and that's just the name they stuck on him. So
I know that Coach Chappell stayed here in Dalton, and he's often said, and that was for you and Andrea. He didn't want you to have to move around and go everywhere, and so he made a commitment. And of course, we're all glad he did stay because we knew he had other opportunities.
Well, one thing I think we should always say as a Chappell family is that we're thankful. Dad had other opportunities, but he was very happy here. He didn't want to move us around. That was part of it, but he also had great support. He had great assistant coaches. He had great principals, superintendents, and the town in general took care of the Catamounts, and that made it easy to want to stay here also. So I enjoyed all that. I benefited from all that as a kid, and it was just a great environment.
I went to so many different schools, all those junior high and elementary and high schools, and I did not want my kids to do that. I wanted them to be secure in a place and maybe go from kindergarten through 12th grade, which both of them was able to do. And after you've been here that long, why you want to leave? So I decided we'll just stay. I had plenty of opportunities on both levels, but I never met an assistant coach in college that wasn't looking for a better job. Never. And I didn't want to bounce around like that. No. I guess I bounced around too much growing up. You understand? I knew how all that was.
How all that worked.
Yeah.
Coach, what was it like to coach under Alf Anderson, and how did your 9 years as his assistant kind of influence or shape how you were going to coach as a head coach?
Coach Anderson is one of the finest men I've ever known in my life. I admired him, and I respected him, and I listened and watched everything he did, the way he did things, the way he handled people. I'll never forget. He would give me advice all the time when I was an assistant, and I got offered head coaching jobs up in this area, and he said, "Well, I want you to go." And Mr. Hale was the same way. "I want you to go and go ahead and interview with those people, and then come back and let us have the last word." And but Coach Anderson was very direct with everything. You knew if he told you something, you could take it to the bank. And he was a hard nose. He had played under Coach Butts at Georgia, and he didn't offer any excuses. You had reasons, not excuses. And he was a hard worker, and I just enjoyed working for him and with him. There was 3 of us on the varsity staff. Gosh, that lasted until a long time, and we were like as close as you could get, 3 people, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I really came here with the ambition of leaving after a couple of years and going on to a bigger school or a head coaching job somewhere. And like I said, you go interview, but you come back and you've got a better deal here anyway, and you're working with better people. So I decided to stay for a while.
Now, when he got ready to retire, how did the baton get passed to you? How did you actually become the head coach?
Well, let me go back a little bit. Coach Barber come up and knocked on my classroom door one day, and I went to the door, and he said, "Congratulations." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I just got through talking to Mr. Hale, the superintendent, and Coach Anderson had mentioned maybe, in the past couple of years that he was going to retire. He said, I asked Mr. Hale, if Coach Anderson retires, am I the next head coach? Mr. Hale said, no, but the next head coach is on the staff." And so he said, "Congratulations." So he got out of it at the end of the year. And then Frank Thomason moved up from the B team to make the 3rd coach. And I guess it was 2 years later, Frank and Coach Anderson and myself was at the old gym watching after school one day, watching some kids playing. And Coach said, "Y'all stay here. I'll be back in a minute. Don't leave." So in a little while he came back and he said, "Bill," he said, "Mr. Bowen, who was the principal, wants to see you." I said, "I ain't done anything wrong." He said, "Go see him." So I walked in the office, and Mr. Bowen said, Coach Anderson has decided he just wants to be athletic director and retire as head coach. You're our next head coach." I said, "I'll try it." And that was it.
How were you able to handle the pressure that would come maybe from parents or from the community about playing their kids? I've heard you say a lot of times, I treated everybody the same.
Like Coach Anderson told me one time, don't ever obligate yourself to anybody in this town. If you say something, you mean what you say and say what you mean, and be able to stand up with it. Don't ever back down when you know you're right. And so I think people just understood that, that you're going to do what's right, and you're going to treat everybody the same, regardless of their socioeconomic level or whoever their parents are. It doesn't matter. Who's best is who's going to play. And that's the only way to be. That way they can't argue with you. They might not like it, but they don't argue with you. They don't. I never had, but in the 33 years I was head coach, I only had one person to come and question me about his son playing, and I told him what his son could do, if he wanted to. The boy didn't really want to play though. The daddy wanted him to play more than the boy did. You understand what I mean?
I do.
And
sure
so
do.
that conversation didn't last long at all.
Coach, one of the things that, and you had thousands of former players that meant a lot for us was your staff. The stability that you had in the staff, the quality of the staff, the longevity. No, we didn't have turnover. How was it as a head coach that you related and, for lack of a better word, handled your staff?
Well, I always treated every assistant coach exactly the same way I was treated when I was an assistant coach. This is your job, do it. If I have to do it for you, I don't need you. But if you need help, I'm here for you. But the only way they're going to learn and improve is by getting out there and doing the job. And you're going to make mistakes. And when you make mistakes, you learn. And when you learn, you progress. And so that's the way I treated them. I gave them all the emphasis I could on being known in the community, just like on the TV program that we had. I would always talk to Erwin Mitchell, who was the guy that interviewed me mostly, and then I'd turn it over to two of the coaches, one from defense and one from offense, and let them be seen and talk. That way the community would know who they were. And I think, I don't know, I was fortunate. I was blessed to keep the assistant coaches we had. I recommended a lot of them for head coaching jobs when people would call me. I would listen to what the problem was and what situation, and I'd think, now who on our staff would fit that situation good? And that's who I'd recommend to them. And some of them was offered head coaching jobs, but they decided to stay here.
Coach, I know when you took over the helm as head coach, you started a quarterback club. And there were three things, I think, that you asked them for that really became formational things for this program. Tell us about the quarterback club, how it started, and then how you went with what you asked them for.
Well, Chuck, we had a quarterback club,
Okay.
and they met once a year when Coach Anderson was coaching. They met once a year. That's when they gave this team a banquet. And they forgot to give the banquet Coach Anderson's last year. So that was a good time to improve on it. Mm. And when I was in February, I was named as head coach. I met with, I can't even remember all of them names now, but about 8 men. And they were football people, not parents. There was people that loved football. And I talked with them, and we formed a club. And I told them, I said, we need three things. I said, I want a field house, because I explained the situation where we were dressing at the old gym, the fungus pit, as I called it. And I wanted to go to camp, and I want traveling blazers. They said, Coach, we can understand the field house, but what's with the camp? I said, we're going to go to camp for a week because they're going to get to know one another a lot better there than they do here. Here, when practice is over, they go that way and they go this way. But at camp, they're all right there together for a week. And you get to know one another a lot better. And then they said, that's good. Okay, now what's with the traveling blazers? I said, at that time, the socioeconomic level was so obvious here in Dalton. I said, well, I'm tired of watching some kids get on with the best pair of Levi's on the bus to travel, and then other kids getting on with sport coats or something real nice. I said, I want traveling blazers. Everybody's going to look exactly alike. Nobody will know what your parents are or who they are or how much money they got. But in that way, no embarrassments. You see what I'm saying? And they said, Coach, that's a great idea. And so we got the traveling blazers, and we went to camp. And we got the field house about maybe 3 years after that.
So, Coach, you were the head coach through integration.
Right. I'll never forget, we was in the old dressing room in an old gym down there, and we were giving out uniforms, and I looked over there, and there was about 7 or 8 little fellas sitting over there. And I walked over there to tell them, I said, you guys mind waiting until I finish what I'm doing? No, sir. So they would look nervous, So I finished what I was doing. I walked over. I said, I got one question to ask you. Did you come over here to play football or cause trouble? We want to play. I said, get your butt in here and let's go. Never had a problem. Never had a problem. They fit right in, and that's another advantage of going to camp too, you see. And they were accepted, and that's great. It was great. I know we was going to Fannin County, and I had heard that they didn't like, that situation. So I called up where we were going to be having our meal, and I said, if my black players can't eat, we can't eat. And they said, Coach, it won't be a problem at all. I said, well, now, I'm taking you at your word. If they can't eat, we won't eat. So there's no difference, never was treated different. They treated just like everybody else was treated, and everything was accepted. You played there,
That was one of the reasons behind the red jacket.
Well, it fit in good. We already had the red jackets though before they came. So we got the jackets in '64. That was the first season with the jackets. They were blue at that time. I don't know why we had blue, but Garmin was the one where we got them, and they got blue. And then we decided a few years after that to go to red, and been red ever since. It should have been red to begin with.
A lot of us that were able to go on a little bit, these facilities were as good as some of the colleges that we saw. The red jacket was the most coveted thing of kids coming up. Everybody wanted to wear that red jacket. And the most horrible two words in the vocabulary was bell buckle. And we've heard guys that went to the military say, hey, this wasn't as tough as bell buckle. A lot of guys went to college and they said, look, college is nothing compared to what we went through. And the toughness, that great statement, famous statement that we all still say, rub a little dirt on it. It was the toughness of this program that we all remember. Tell us about that and your philosophy when it came to coaching us, not only the toughness, but what were you thinking? What did you want to get out of us that would make us better players and better men?
I wanted to get the best you had in you out. If I didn't get the best you had in you out, I cheated you. And I don't like to be a cheater. No. Most people, not just football players, but most people never really extend themselves to the point that they should without somebody demanding that they do more, pushing them, making them do more. Then that way, well, it's like I used to tell some of the folks, it's like the mirror test. You go in there and you look in that mirror and that fella knows you, the one you're looking at. He knows you. Now, he knows whether you've done your best or didn't do your best. Now, if you got somebody who's really pushing you hard that to get the best that you can be, then it's going to stay with you your whole life. Whatever you do, you're going to know that there's no such thing as giving up. You can give out, but you can't give up. You can get knocked down, but you get right back up. It's going to happen to you in life. The best way to learn that, I think, is playing football. It's not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. And, it's something that's going to carry on in life for you. I just believe that real strong. And I think that when you get to be in your early 20s or mid-20s, you're going to realize it too.
And I think everybody would say that through life, the lessons that we learned from you in this program have helped us to stand when things got tough. When it came to being a head coach, I remember years ago I asked you this question: what was the most important thing do you believe that would make you successful as a head coach?
Well, first of all, it's just like I got through saying, get the best out of the players. then get assistant coaches that one man's not responsible for everything. It's like I told you the other day. If you walk down or ride down the road and you see that turtle up on that fence post, he didn't get that by himself. So I didn't get that way by myself. I had a lot of good assistant coaches, and I had a lot of great kids playing. And it just takes all of that. It takes all of it. If you think, I used to go and watch Alabama practice when Bear Bryant was head coach. Every spring, I'd go over there and watch him because he didn't have the biggest players around. I'd go to other colleges and watch too. But it was so organized. In other words, if on a drill, if you didn't get it right, you didn't go to the next drill. You stayed there till you got it right. And he was up on a high tower. Now, who was running all that? The assistant coaches, you see. So it takes everything. The head coach, he has his plans. He knows what he's going to do defensively. He knows what he's going to do offensively. And then it's the assistant's job to get the job done.
You were known to be able to take the players that you had and work your offense and defense around them and make those adjustments on a year-to-year basis. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, people didn't know this, but Coach Anderson nor myself, either one, ever had control of the junior high program. But when they came to us, then in high school, you take what you got and do what they can do best, whatever it is. You can't run a power offense with little boys. So you got to have big people. You can't run something that requires a lot of skill if you don't have skill. So you got to fit them to the situation. You got to run offensively what they can do and what they can do best. Otherwise, you're just wasting time. And so, you place people where they can help the team the most. Sometimes I'd recommend a kid a different position than I had him playing. And I did that because he helped the team more. But then I'd also recommend him at the position he should be playing, yeah. But you have to do that in high school.
I can give you a good example real quick. It's like Gary Bramlett. We played Gary Bramlett at defensive left tackle, but I recommended him as an offensive guard. And we were at Jacksonville State at camp, and a coach from Alabama came over there watching us, and he said, Coach, he said, I noticed you playing him on defense. I said, yeah, because he makes everybody left-handed. They're running away from him. So I got to use him where he helps us the most. You see what I mean? I said, but he's really an offensive guard. We worked him at guard. And he said, well, do you mind if I see him down on the board drill? I said, not at all. So got Gary up there, another guy, his size, and he ran down that board drill twice. And that Alabama coach said, you got a scholarship, son. And he started at offensive guard 3 years at Alabama under Bear Bryant. So, things like that. Had another kid I remember real good. He about 6'3" or 4 and long-legged, and but we were running a power eye, and I needed a tight end to block tackles, come down on tackles and block them. Well, I played him at tight end, but I recommended him as a center. Well, Georgia Tech signed him and played him at center. He started 3 or 4 years and was captain of the team as a center. But he helped us as a tight end. So that's what I mean by doing what you have to do with what you got.
Coach, I remember one time you talking about that as a coach and a head coach that you had to be a coach, you had to be almost like a dad sometimes, you had to be a psychiatrist. Each individual was different, and you had to know how to know them and deal with them. And I think you told me that Coach Anderson was real good at reading people.
Coach Anderson was excellent at it.
And how important was that?
Oh, it's awfully important. You got to know what motivates him. See, you got to motivate the team, but then you have to motivate the individual. Now, there's two types of different motivations. Some people you'd motivate by just staring at them. Others, you might have to give them a forearm. Others, you might have to chew him out bad. But each person has his own way of getting motivated. But it doesn't matter what you have to do. Just get the best out of him. Yeah. Every kid that finished the program, I love them dearly because I know what they've been through, and I know the price they have paid. And I truly, they might not have known I loved them, but I did. And I loved them. I still do. And if I can help them, I'm there for them. Yes, sir. Every kid that finished that program, to me, is just like a child to me. I mean, I've seen them grow from a little boy to a man. And all of them can talk to you and look you straight in the eye, and I can take their word. I love them, yes.
When it came time to end it all up, when it came time to for you to quit coaching, how was that for you? And after all those years, how would you come to a decision like that?
Some people might think I'm crazy when I say this, but after I had the triple bypass and go out to practice, and the first year when things didn't go right, and I'd get a little, I'm a calm person, but I'd get a little excited and stuff. I'd hear a voice in my head saying, "Back off, back off." And I heard that voice, I don't know how many times. I went home and told my wife, I said, "I got to get out of this stuff. I'm hearing voices." "No, you wouldn't know what to do with yourself. You'd be lost. You're your best when you're under pressure. You don't need to get out." I said, "But I'm hearing voices." Second year, I heard it in the off season. No, I don't hear it. No. The second season, I had a good friend I had to be a pallbearer for, Bobby Gruen over in Gainesville High School. He died right before the season started, and then my mother died during the playoffs. Coach Johnson died in February, and a good friend of mine, Nick Hyder, dropped dead in Valdosta in the lunchroom in late May. And now I don't hear this voice. I hear it all through the season, but not in the off season. So we drive to Valdosta, and they had his funeral on the 50-yard line in Valdosta in late May, and they had the casket open, and that poor boy was getting blistered out there in that sun. It was really, they shouldn't have done that. But anyway, we get in the car to come home, and I told my wife, I said, "It's too late to do anything now, but I don't care what you say. This is my last year coming up." So that's it. And you know what? When I got out, and I wasn't myself, Chuck. I wasn't myself at all. I keep hearing back off. Well, you back off. Well, that's not me. That was not me. And I felt like I was doing what I shouldn't be doing. And I have not heard that voice since, not since. So I think God was trying to tell me something. Because I went through, when I was coaching, I went through bleeding ulcers. I had to have my pyloric opening rebuilt because of scar tissue from old ulcers and everything. I had all kind of things because I was one of those people who's going to make it happen, and all you do is hurt yourself. I remember laying in the hospital and had tubes there where you could put one, and I said, "This is stupid." I said, from this point on, I want to ask myself, do I have control over this? If I say yes, I'm going to get busy and go to work. If I say no, I'm going to forget it. Well, it takes practice, and I didn't get to it until I really got out. Now I'm real good at it. But if I don't have any control over it, I'm not going to worry about it. Forget it. I wished I could have done that when I was younger. but I wouldn't have had all those things. But no, if I hadn't, I loved it. I loved coaching. I loved football, and but I decided I wasn't helping, doing my share like I should, and I was better get out. So I got out.
Your relationship to all of your players since you've gotten out of coaching, I think it's been about 26 years. Mm-hmm. You told me one time that you loved everyone that went through the program. Mm-hmm. You've had a lot of influence on a lot of us after you got out of coaching. And how has that relationship between you and your former players, how has that been for you?
Well, it's like I said, Chuck, I wasn't your buddy, but I was your friend. And even now, if one of them need me, I'm there. I'm there to help them any way I can. I loved every kid that finished the program because I know what he's done and I know what he's been through, and I think he deserves to be it's a closeness. Let me ask you this: anytime you've been apart from some of your old teammates for 10, 15 years, when you get together, it's like you've been apart 5 minutes.
Sure is.
Why? You know him. You know him exactly because you know what he's made out of, you know what he's done, and he did it with you. So that's what I'm talking about. So I went through with y'all, and I know what you've been through. So and I'm there if you need me.
That since you walked off the field, we don't ever see you on the field anymore. You're not one that kind of stayed and hovered over the program. And tell us why you think that's so important.
Well, I don't attend practice at all, no, because I may be up on that hill watching practice, and somebody come walk up to me and they want to start talking, and they may say I said something, and it might sound like I'm criticizing, and that's not going to happen. No, because I'm not going to. If I've got something that I want to talk to the head coach about, I'll go see him. But that's not my job. Now, if the head coach calls me and wants to talk, then fine, I'll talk with him. I'll do. But when you're through, baby, you're through. And unless they call you and ask you, no, I'm not going to get in their way. They got a job to do. They don't need that. Mm-hmm. They need encouragement. They don't need criticism. I know it's just like, all right, people say, Coach, what offense you going to run this year? I say, whatever they can do best. And that's exactly what I meant. All right, and they say, why don't you pass the ball more? I said, well, first of all, you got to have somebody that can pass it. Second, you got to have a line of scrimmage and give him time to pass it. Third, you got to have somebody who can catch it. Now, getting all three of those at the same time sometimes is pretty hard in high school. And I always believed that you had to run the football and stop the run. You had to play defense first. You got to get the best kicking game you can get. You get an offense that don't beat you. Now, you put all that stuff together and you got a philosophy. You understand what I mean? Mm-hmm. And, all right, if we're going to throw the football, but we're going to throw it most of the time off of run. Fake the run and throw it. But if we had to, I couldn't coach this thing this year that they do now, throw the ball 40 times or more a game. No, when you're running the ball, you can control the game. When I was coming along, you didn't throw the ball much anyway. It was a physical game. We didn't have face masks. We had leather helmets. It was, you did everything with your shoulders, your shoulder pads. But you might lose a tooth or two, a nose get broke, but that's all right. You don't have the brain concussions that you have now.
Because you're using your shoulder.
Yeah, you used your shoulders. And I don't know, I just feel like that's what the game's all about. Now when you go to a football game, you see them throw the ball all over the park, you know, and the fans love that, but they don't love it when you lose. And if you'll go and watch the Super Bowl every year, the team that runs the ball best wins. I feel you're throwing more than 10 times a game, you're losing. Yeah.
Two-platooning. I think a lot of us were surprised when you went to the two-platoon system. What was what brought that about? How'd you make that decision?
Well, in '74 we played Baylor. We had a good team in '74, but we lost our skilled people, injuries during the season, and we got to play Baylor the last game. And Baylor is they'd won 28 straight games. They were defending national and state champions. And we're going up at, we got to win that game to have a winning season. We beat them. But we graduated, everybody. We go out for spring practice. I got 48 kids out there. 28 of them are sophomores, going to be sophomores. And I said, I don't want to lose one of those two because they were good-looking kids. So I told the coaches we're going to two-platoon. They looked at me like, well, are you crazy? We didn't have that many coaches, really. It's just 4 of us. But we did it. We two-platoon. And the first 3 games we lost. And I was hearing rumors. Nobody coming to me and telling me, but I'd gotten too old. The game would pass me by. I was stupid, all this kind of stuff. Well, we finished the season playing for the state championship at Americas. So the kids kept improving. The next year, we had 70-something kids come out. The next year, we had 90-something kids come out. And those 28 graduated. So it all worked out that way. And from that point on, we had that kind of numbers coming out.
Pitcher fit was, I can remember the first one I was involved in, and it was pretty unexpected and pretty tough. What did that mean, and how in the world did you come up with that?
You feel like sometimes they're not getting into it like they should, and need to get a little more aggressive and everything. Just holler pitcher fit, and everybody just turns and hits the man next to him, or whoever's next to him. Just knock him down. Let's get something going here. Yeah, oh, we did some crazy things, but that ain't too bad.
A lot of us live off of a lot of your quotes. Like when you walked through that door on game day, flipped that switch, and told us to put on our work clothes. Run it again, rub a little dirt on it. If you get knocked down, get back up again. Even Coach, just one-liners have stuck with us and made a big difference. And on behalf of all of your players and all of their families and all of the fans that watched while you coaches all those years, we could never thank you enough and let you know how much we love you and respect you. And we're so glad that you didn't leave us for some other community.
I appreciate that, Chuck. I really do. It means an awful lot to me. Sometimes it makes me think. Mr. Bowen was talking to me one day in hall, and some of the players came by, and he said, Coach, he said, I can't figure out if it's fear or respect that they feel about you. I said, Mr. Bowen, I hope it's both, because the first year I coached, the principal asked me. I wasn't but 20 years old, and he asked me. He said, "Had you rather be liked or respect?" I said, "There's no question about that. I'd rather have respect." Yeah. He said, "Good." He told me a few other things, but that's always stuck with me. And you learn from people who've been there, who've done it. And it's just like I said, you coach the way you were coached. What else do you know? I get tickled at people that go to clinics and stuff and come back and want to do exactly what the colleges is doing, you know, and they don't have those kind of people to do that. Why you want to line up and do what your kids can do? It might, you know, but do you want to win? People will work harder when they know that they can accomplish something. And people are not stupid. They know, like if I was talking earlier, they know you can't run a power offense if you ain't big enough. Players know that. So do what they can do. If that would stick. And there's another thing. The two most important things I think that before you ever go on the field is discipline and organization. That's the two most. Because if you don't have those two and you go out on the field, you're not going to get much accomplished. Because the players will be doing what they want to do, not what you demand they do. And it's just, those two things are very important.
So as you sit here in the stands of Harmon Field and Bill Chappell Stadium, what does this place, this program, mean to Bill Chappell?
Well, Pete, I look out there on that field, and it's 42 years of my life right out there. That's how long I coached here. And I was, like I've said, I was very fortunate to have had the help I had and the players I had. And I hope that we did the best we could with them. I took credit for all the losses and gave everybody else credit for the wins, because you're gonna get it anyway. You might as well take it, you know. But no, it's a team sport, and everybody has to contribute. Everybody has a thing to do and a part to play, and it has to be done that way.
You took us and made us confident, and you made winners out of us, and that's what we remember about you. That's what we want everybody to know about you, kind of the inside story of Bill Chappell and what he did for our community and what he means to us yet today.
Well, that's getting the best out of best, you know. Well, I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you again, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Chappell, this is Jimmy Weatherford. Just have to think about when I was a young kid and had plenty of will to succeed, but didn't know how. I was lucky enough to play football at Dalton High School. Had wonderful coaches there and teachers. I think in the long run, that's the thing that taught me how to be successful. And with that, I have to say I appreciate everything you've done for me. Love you, Coach.
Hey, Coach, it sure was great working with you for 30 years, and thanks for not firing me after that bad call I made in the Cedartown game.
Coach Chappell, I am so excited for this opportunity to tell you that you always have been and will be the man that brought the best out of me. And I am so grateful that God put you in my life. Love you, Coach.
Coach Chappell, Danny Westfall. Played in 2 state championships, learned the lessons of a lifetime, and put 2 kids through college. I appreciate everything. You're like a father to me, and you know that. Love you.
Hey, Coach. I hope you're well. I want to say thank you for letting me be a part of your legacy. I also thank you for the teamwork and the camaraderie that you installed in us as players. It served me well to this day. God bless.
Coach Keith Whitworth, I want to thank you for all you've done for me. Not only making me a better athlete, but also a better person. I know I gave you a few sleepless nights, but thanks for loving me like a son. And I love you.
Chappell,
Jerry Hennon. I just want to thank you for the years you spent in Dalton, turning boys into young men. The lessons we learned from you about being prepared, about being dedicated, persevering, and most of all about being tough have stayed with me my entire life. As the game memories start to fade, the experience of playing for you will always be with us.
Hey Coach Chappell, it's Bill Blackwood. I wanted to let you know that the character, work ethic, and life lessons you taught us as boys still resonates inside us today as men, and I wanted to thank you for it.
Chris Finley, class of 92, Dalton football, Coach Chappell, first name you think of. Just honored to play for him for 4 years. The memories of the being approached by Coach Chappell maybe, and you're getting the look through the top of the eyes, and it was always followed by a song, and then you're thinking, oh, what have I done?
Hey Coach Chappell, Bill Mitchell here. Just wanted to thank you for the positive impact you've had on my life and the leadership you've shown me. It was an honor to be on your teams and play for you, and it's an honor to call you a friend.
Hey Coach Chappell, this is Whit Strickland. I want to tell you, I always considered it an honor and a privilege to have got to play for you and the entire coaching staff at Dalton. There was disciplines and memories that last a lifetime. Thank you.
Hey Coach Chappell, this is Jeff Burra. It was one of the greatest experiences and the honor of a lifetime to have played for the Dalton Catamounts under your direction. See you soon. God bless.
Hey Coach, this is John Cross. Just wanted to thank you for the investment you made in me and the lessons that I was taught that have stayed with me to this day. Thank you.
Hey Coach, Kit Carpenter. I wanted just to reach out and tell you how much I appreciate the life lessons that you taught me through the game of football, as well as the guidance and direction that you have given me well after the fact. Love you, Coach.
Hey Coach Chappell, Rodney Hennon. I just want to say thank you for always holding us to a high standard and teaching us an expectation of success at a young age. You always demanded the very best from all of us and never accepted anything less than that. I also want to thank you for teaching us what it's like to be a part of a team. These are lessons that I carry with me to this day and try to pass along to the players that I coach. Thank you so much, Coach.
Clint Bagley, class of 1994. We can certainly celebrate the winning tradition that Coach Chappell established at Dalton, but the real legacy lives on in the profound impact he had on hundreds of young men throughout his career. Thank you, Coach, and go Big Red.
Hello, Coach. It's Preston Pogue. I want to get on here and just tell you how much I appreciate you, what all you've done over the years for me, and things that you taught me that I teach my team today. Toughness, accountability, how to be good teammates. No one person is more important than a team, and these things I've carried with me my whole life, and it's because of you. And I just want to say thank you, and I love you.
Hi, Coach Chappell. This is Bill Mayo. I just wanted to say we certainly appreciate your contribution to Dalton High School football, Dalton High School, and the city of Dalton. You're 33 years leading the program. You did such a wonderful job, so much success on the field. Brought notoriety to the school, to our community. Certainly the influence you had on your players and the kids has just been outstanding. And just on a personal note for me, just wanted to say thank you. I appreciated you recognizing that I was probably an offensive lineman, not a defensive lineman, and the support and guidance you gave me during the recruiting process meant a lot, and just appreciate you and just tell you love you and thank you very much.
My name is Donald Bagley. I played for Coach Chappell on the state championship team. My family has 4 generations of players that's gone through the program at Dalton High School. My only question is why there was only 1 state championship and why there was only 1 Saturday practice. Go Big Red.
Hello, Coach Chappell. This is Tommy Macon.
Wayne Macon.
Tim Macon.
Marcus Macon.
We just want to let you know we appreciate all the things you did for us back in our high school days and back during football. And we just want to wish you well and wish you luck.
Good afternoon, Coach. Just wanted to stop by and say thank you for the opportunity and the privilege to play football for you. still carry lessons that you taught us to this day and many things that have helped me throughout my life. Thank you very much.
Hey, Coach Chappell, this is Brady Holcomb, class of 1992, and I just want to thank you on behalf of 3 generations of Holcombs for creating a program which we all held so dear to our heart. Thanks, Coach.
Coach Doug Peoples here. As a player, I benefited from your years of knowledge and experience, but it wasn't until I became adult that I was able to benefit and learn of your true care and compassion for me during a difficult time. And for that, I'll always be grateful. Thank you.
Hey, Coach Chappell, it's Benji McConkey here, and I want to tell you thank you for everything you've done for me in my life. Without you, there's no telling where I would be at. The impact you had on my life is just unbelievable. Always be a great husband, always be a great dad. It's what you always told me. I love you. Thank you.
Hey, Coach, Jeff Townsend. I just want to say thank you for all you taught me. I had 4 great years with you. Without the lessons I learned from you, I'd never be where I am today. You taught me a lot about character, class, how to carry myself in every situation. You taught me to never give up. And the most important lesson you taught me was to have integrity. I love you, and go Big Red.
Hey, Coach, this is Ricky Townsend. Just want to say a word to you and thank you for all the lessons you've taught me through life as far as playing football for you and the Catamounts of Dalton. Just blessings be upon you, and I love you. Thank you.
Coach, it's Johnny McIntosh. There's a lot of people that have influenced my life for an hour, a day, maybe a year, but you're one of those special people that's influenced my entire life. You told me when I played for you I didn't have to like you because I'd have the rest of my life to love you, and I'm glad I've had this long to love you. Go Big Red.
Coach Chappell, Walter Person here. Just want to thank you for all the lessons and the opportunity to play football for you. Thanks again.
Hey, Coach, Brad Lewis, senior class 71. I want to thank you for all the life lessons that you gave me in those 3 years that I played for you. It prepared me for a lot of things that I had no idea what was coming, but I knew that I had gone through things that you had taught me and that helped me so much in life. Thanks again.
Hello, Coach. Lane Lewis, class of 1994. Just wanted to say thank you for the impact you've had on my life as a husband, a father, as a person. You mean the world to me, and as well as many others. We thank you for all you've done for this community. We love you, Coach.
Hey, Coach, Lance Lewis, class of 1992. What an honor and a privilege it was to be your quarterback for 3 years. You had a vision, you had a drive, and you set a standard that all of us adhered to and that we're so lucky to be a part of. Just thankful to be a small part of something so special. I love you, Coach.
Coach Chappell, thank you for the investments that you have made and Miss Chappell has made in me and in our community. There's no questions that the lessons you have taught have made me better in my personal and my professional life. And as your neighbor, I want to thank you for being invested in the lives of my children even today.
Bob Bethel, class of 92. Those of us who had Miss Chappell for 2nd grade always loved her. The Friday morning Bible stories were special. She even let me bring in my pet possum into class for show and tell. Well, Coach, you were right. We learned to love you. Thank you for expecting and pulling out our best, preparing us for the game and life. We love you.
Chris Jackson, class of 81. Thanks, Coach Chappell, for the lessons learned playing 4 years of football under you and your coaching staff. Once again, thanks.
My name is Gary Bradwick. I played there for Coach Bill Chappell from 1974 to 1978. But I do want to say, and some of you guys have played for him know, that he does not like excuses. And that was a good lesson learned.
Coach Chappell, it's Gordon Whitener here. I want to join these other Catamounts and just thanking you for the amazing influence you've had on my life. Thank you for teaching us how to lead, how to be great teammates, how to persevere, and most importantly, how to win.
Hey, Coach. This is Sam Hare.
And I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and I appreciate the influence that you had on my life. I will forever be grateful. Thank you.
Hello, Coach. This is Steve Norris from the 1967 state champions. On behalf of myself and the other 5 Norris family members that played for the Catamounts, we want to thank you for teaching us how to be a team player and to be guided by our spirit and love for the school. Thank you for bringing us in like boys and taking us out like men. Thank you and God bless.
Greetings, Coach Chappell. It's Antonio Printup, or Tony Printup back when I was playing. I want to tell you that I appreciate and I thank you for all the things you've done over the years for us at Dalton High School.
John Bryant, 41, defensive back, senior, as in senior citizen at this point in my life. But Coach, I just want to thank you so much for all you've done for the football program through the years and the impact you've had on not only me, but countless others, and teaching us all about hard work, dedication, sacrifice, and life lessons that we've carried with us through all the years. And Miss Chappell, equal kudos to you, because it takes both of you all to make it successful. Again, thank you so much. Best of luck through the years.
Friday, never ate anything until the game was over, and then we'd all go to the Waffle House and really celebrate. And thanks to Rita Wages, we all had outfits alike back then.
Oh,
and
wow.
we had the same coaching staff, and so we dressed alike, and we went to all the games. I can remember the little McClurgs and the little Chappells. They'd be up in the back, asleep in the back of the car, and we'd be coming home from Atlanta.
I don't know, but Mr. Bowen says, I want you to start a golf team. I said, Mr. Bowen, I can't teach those kids to play golf. He said, you don't have to worry about that. The golf pro's going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, so, and the funniest thing, though, was Coach Wages. That coach said, I'm the only coach that's been around here a long time that's not a head coach in something. I said, well, what you want to be a head coach in? He said, well, golf's open. I said, Wages, you don't even know which end of the stick to hold. He just won 6 state championships.
Now, the 300th game, help us a little bit. Some people don't know who you played, what the score was.
I don't need it. It's over there. What is it over there?
You don't remember who you played?
I think it was Lakeview.
Lakeview?
I think.
Did you know that okay, if we win this one, this is going to be my 300th?
No.
You didn't know?
I didn't know.
And you didn't think about it?
I had no idea how many we'd won.
That's what I figured.
Until all that came about. I had no idea what the record was. All I know, I was interested in the game we're playing.
That's what